Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we will discuss some operating characteristics of alternators. Now, actually, you have this is basically the external characteristics. Now, in you have studied DC generator and you have studied the external characteristics of the DC generator for its different connections, that is shunt, series, compound. Now, basically, the external characteristic is the change in terminal voltage with load. So, what happens in case of a alternator? Now, under no load condition, the open circuit induced EMF EF is equal to the terminal voltage VT. No current is flowing. Now, the uh, look of the characteristic will depend on what is the value of the field current which has been fixed, because this is for constant excitation. Now, if we keep the excitation constant at its no load value, so it's such that the IF is such that at no load rated voltage is obtained, and if IF is kept constant for that value, then what will happen to the terminal voltage as we load the machine? Now, in case of alternator, actually the terminal voltage, nature of the terminal armature reaction depends on the power factor of the load. Say, consider this figure. The machine is carrying a current IA, which is a lagging power factor current. Power factor angle is lagging. So in all the figures, I have neglected the resistance. The armature resistance is very small compared to the synchronous reactance, so that has been neglected. So neglecting armature resistance, the main drop is IA excess drop. So that is perpendicular to IA. So under loaded condition, your terminal voltage plus the drop is equal to the induced EMF EF. So for lagging power factor, you can see that magnitude of VT has decreased. It is less than what was the value at no load. Now, if we take a unity power factor load, then the current IA is in phase with VT. Again, VT plus IA excess is EF. Here also you can see that the magnitude of VT is less than EF, but the magnitude compared to this magnitude of terminal voltage is higher for unity power factor, but for both the lagging power factor current and unity power factor current, the terminal voltage will decrease from no load to full load condition. Now, what happens if we have a leading currents? Now, say the machine is carrying supplying a leading current IA. So the drop will be perpendicular to this IA axis. So our terminal voltage is now, the magnitude is now greater than EF. So if the machine is supplying a leading current, then its terminal voltage will increase from its no load value. The same figure, if we here I have kept the excitation constant such that rated voltage is obtained at no load. Instead of that, if the excitation is adjusted such that rated voltage is obtained at rated current, whatever be the power factor angle. In that case, what will happen? The terminal voltage under loaded condition, full load condition is constant. VT is constant. Now, if this machine is supplying a lagging power factor current IA, then the induced EMF is VT plus IA excess EF. So EF is greater than VT. So basically the same thing. Here also EF was greater than VT. Only that the excitation current is different. Now, if we have a unity power factor current IA, there also EF will be greater than VT, but this EF is less than the EF for lagging power factor load. Again, if we have a leading current, then EF is less than VT. So for alternator, if it is carrying a lagging power factor, supplying a lagging power factor load or a unity power factor load, the terminal voltage decreases from no load to full load. But if it is at a leading power factor load, terminal voltage will increase. So if we plot the figure for the first one, where no load voltage is equal to V rated, for 0.8 power, say 0.8 power factor, the terminal voltage will drop. For unity power factor also it will drop, but the drop will be less. But for leading power factor, terminal voltage will increase. This curve is same, only that we will have rated voltage as rated current. So to obtain the rated voltage at rated current, if we have the machine is supplying lagging power factor load, then the excitation no load should be such that no load voltage should be this value EF. If it is a unity power factor load, no load voltage is this, and if it is a leading power factor load, no load voltage is this, smaller. So these are called the external characteristic of synchronous generator. Now from here, it is obvious that if we want the terminal voltage to be constant, we cannot keep the field current constant or excitation constant. Excitation has to be controlled to get a constant terminal voltage. And as these machines are used for voltage generation, we want their terminal voltage to be constant irrespective of the load. So the excitation has to be controlled. These machines has automatic voltage regulators which will control the excitation. Now, for to determine the regulator characteristic, what is important is the compounding characteristic of the generator. This is basically the plot between the excitation current and the armature current. That is, if we have a lagging power factor load, then the relationship is like this. That is, with current, excitation should increase with armature current. If it is a unity power factor load, there also excitation should increase, but the increase is less for unity power factor. Lower the power factor, more is the excitation needed. If it is a leading power factor load, the excitation should decrease. Now, basic reason for this, just we can explain from here. So actually what we have, though in this figure the excited MMF are not shown, but what we have under no load condition, we have, say, consider this one, we have the MMF FF. So FF is leading EF by 90 degree because this MMF induces an EMF lagging it by 90 degrees. So FF is here. Now, if so, FF is along this direction in the leftwards. Now, what is the nature of the armature reaction? Armature reaction is produced by this current. So, FA is along this line. So, FA can be resolved into two components, one along the horizontal axis, one along the vertical axis. This component along the horizontal axis, you can see for a lagging power factor current or for a unity power factor current. In both the cases, it will have a considerable component which is opposing the field MMF. So the effect of armature reaction is demagnetizing in nature. So to keep a constant voltage, we should increase the excitation. But for leading current, you can see that the armature reaction component is in the same direction of as FF. So it is magnetizing in nature. So as the armature reaction is magnetizing in nature, to have a constant voltage, we should have a we should decrease the excitation. So as the nature of the armature reaction MMF, whether it is magnetizing or demagnetizing, depends on the power factor. So the compounding characteristic also depends on the power factor of the load. Now, one thing is rating of the generator. How the rating is indicated on the nameplate. Now, rating of any electrical instrument depends on its heating. And now here, and the heating we know is depends on the losses. So basically, it is the losses of the machine that dictates the rating. That is basically for a particular frame size, what amount of loss we can dissipate without having a excessive temperature rise, that decides the rating of the machine. Now for alternator, what are the main losses? Main loss is I square R loss, core loss, windage and bearing friction loss. Now windage and bearing friction loss magnitude is small compared to I square R loss and core loss. So main bulk of the loss is I square R loss and the core loss. Now I square R loss is obviously directly proportional to the square of the current. So it will depend on the current, whereas the core loss, which has two components, eddy loss and the hysteresis loss, both depend on the voltage and frequency. Now frequency remaining constant, so it depends on the voltage. So basically core loss is dictated by the voltage, I square R loss or copper loss is dictated by the current. So the rating of them, in view of this, the rating of the alternator depends on the volt ampere rating, not on the kilowatt. That is kilowatt or active power what it is supplying. The rating of the machine does not depend on that. It depends on the volt ampere rating. So what is given on the nameplate is the VA. Normally these are very large machines, so we will have MVA ratings on the nameplate. On the other hand, the active power, what the machine can deliver, depend on the shaft power input from the prime mover. So unless the prime mover input is changed, the output of the machine cannot be changed. Just try to visualize what is the power input. Where is the power input coming? The power input is coming from the active power input is coming from the mechanical prime mover. So that is after that minus the losses will give you the power output of the machine. So unless we change the mechanical input or the prime mover input to the machine, the power output cannot be changed. What is indicated on the nameplate is VA rating. So VA rating will be indicated given the voltage rating, frequency rating, current rating will be given. Another thing is specified is the power factor. So power factor is specified. That is because what happens, the power factor which is specified on the nameplate, it is the design power factor for which the machine has been designed. Now, the reason is that say a 0.8 a machine which is designed for some particular power factor, say 0.8 lagging power factor at rated load with require more field current if it is supplying a say supplying the same with supplying the current which has same magnitude, but power factor is zero point 0.8 lagging, because we have seen that lagging power factor current is the effect of armature reaction is demagnetizing in nature. So lower the power factor, more will be the demagnetization effect. So for zero point 0.8 lagging power factor, the machine will require more excitation. So the power factor, one power factor is given on the nameplate. That is the design power factor of the machine. It is not that the machine cannot deliver any load with except that power factor, but that is the design power factor. Now more, so when the machine is operating at a power factor which is less than the design power factor, it will require more field current, so there will be more heating in the field system. Now one thing that power factor, if on the nameplate of a alternator or synchronous generator, for the nameplate mentioned power factor leading or lagging is not mentioned, then we should consider that it should be a lagging power factor, because for lagging power factor the machine requires more field current, so that should be specified. Another thing, if the connection is not mentioned, whether the armature is star or delta connected, if it is not mentioned, then also we should consider the machine is star connected. That reason is that these large generators are normally star connected, because advantage of star connection is that the neutral is available. If the neutral is available, we have two levels of voltage available, and neutral is available for RD. So normally all large generators will have a neutral which is RD. So normally they have star connection. And besides that, another difficulty of delta connection is that the third and triplet frequency harmonics, which are absent in case in the line, in case of uh, both star and delta connection. In case of delta connection, in case of star connection, what is happening, they will be in phase, and so it can be grounded. So but in case of delta connection, the delta connection, what happens, delta is basically a closed winding for third and triplet frequency which are in phase. So this particularly the third harmonic current will circulate in the delta winding, creating unnecessary loss and heating. So delta connection is avoided unless it is required for some particular application. So if in the nameplate the type of connection is, or in the problem type of connection is not mentioned, consider it to be star connected. Now whatever I have discussed till now is the machine is an isolated machine. That is, where a single generator we have, and we are changing its we have seen what will happen if we change its excitation and other things. Now, actually, in the power system, the machine generators does not operate as an isolated device. It is all are connected in parallel to the grid. Now, so or the bus bar system. Now, this process of connecting a synchronous generator to the bus bar is called synchronizing. Now, say for synchronizing, it can be compared with the process of parallel operation of DC generator. The same thing. That is, in case of DC generator, what you have seen that when we have to operate two generators in parallel, we have to see that their terminal voltages are equal and it should be connected with proper polarity. Now, as it is a AC machine, for synchronous generator, the conditions we should see for synchronizing or parallel operation of two generators, the same conditions apply. That is, the terminal voltage of the incoming machine and the bus bar must be equal. Additionally, the frequency of the incoming machine and the bus bar must be equal, and also the phase sequence of the incoming machine and the bus bar are equal. Now, obviously, in power system, the process is automatic control is there, but the basic we will explain the basic principle of synchronization. So this is the figure. Now this is the incoming, this is the bus bar, and this is the incoming machine. Now, so what we have three lamps. Now, lamp 1, you can see it is connected between across the all lamps are connected across this switch. Now, this lamp 1 is connected to phase A of the bus bar and phase A of the machine. Lamp B is connected between phase B of the bus bar and phase C of the machine. And lamp 3 is connected between the phase C of the bus bar and phase B of the machine. This is the field winding. So this is basically the synchronizing switch. And there is a voltmeter and frequency meter which is connected across this DP/DT switch. So when it is connected on this side, it will give bus bar voltage and frequency. When connected on this side, it will give the incoming machine voltage and frequency. This is the basic arrangement for synchronization. Now, what happens? Say the frequency of the bus bar and the machine is slightly different. Now, the voltage we can voltage we can see that voltage are same, frequency also approximately same, but what is say there is a slight difference between the two frequency, then the voltage across the switch available will be Vm cos omega t minus Vm cos omega 1 t. So that can be written in this form. Now, basically, what happens? These voltage phasors are rotating phasor. So we have to just ascertain at particular instant when they are superimposed. Then only the synchronizing switch should be closed. If we miss that instant, even if the voltage and frequency are the same, then there will be large power surge of power. Now, first of all, let us see how can we ascertain the conditions from this particular figure. Now, say, let us assume these bold lines A, B, and C gives the busbar voltages, and these A1, B1, and C1 is incoming machine voltage phases. Now, for the above figure, I have considered that incoming machine is faster. So, for this particular instant, incoming machine in the voltage is lagging the bus bar voltage by a certain angle. Now, as the machine is faster, this anti-clockwise direction is of rotation we have considered positive, and both are considered rotating in the same direction. That is, I have considered that their phase sequence are the same. So, for next instant, they will be superimposed. So, for this superimposed condition, and for this condition, see what are the voltages across the lamp. One lamp was connected between A and A1. So that lamp has a small voltage, so it will glow dimly. The other lamp was connected between B and C1, and another between C and B1. So for this figure, all the three lamps are glowing, but the voltage available are different. So the amount of glow will be different. Now, for this instant, when these two phasors are superimposed, then see the lamp connected between A and A1 are is getting no voltage, so this will be dark. But other two lamps connected between B and C1 and C and B1 will get full line voltage, so they will be equally bright. Now, as the machine is incoming machine is faster, for the next instant the machine phasor will go ahead. So again the voltage across the lamp in the phase A will start glowing, but the voltage across the lamp which is connected between C and B1, that is now increased, but this voltage is decreasing. For this figure, this voltage was maximum between B and C1. Here it more than the line voltage. Here voltage across B and C1 is equal to line voltage. Now here it will be less than the line voltage. So now as the phasor rotates, so this point will come here. So again B and C1, this voltage across this lamp will become zero, so this lamp will become dark. So if we go and connect so if the sequence is the same, then the one lamp will be dark at a time, but it will be go on rotating because the phasors are rotating. Phasors are not fixed. Now consider that the incoming machine is slower. So in that case, what is happening? Say this figure and this figure are same. So this figure, this is coincident. So this is dark and these two are equally bright. Now the incoming machine is slower. So for next instant, the machine will be lagging behind. So in both the cases, this voltage will go on increasing, but here the voltage between B and C1 was decreasing. Here you can see that B and C1 it is line voltage, and here it is more than the line voltage. So, but the voltage across C and B1, that is decreasing. So that in this case also there will be one dark lamp and two bright, but the sequence in V and the sequence of rotation becoming dark and bright, that directions are different for if the incoming machine is faster and incoming machine is slower. So if we can see that there is always one dark lamp and two bright, but this brightness is rotating at a very slow speed, then we can conclude that the sequence is same. There is a very slight frequency difference between the incoming machine and the bus bar. Now, actually, when they are they rotate, this brightness is rotating very slowly, then for particular position, for this position, that is when this bulb is dark and other two are equally bright, then we close the synchronizing switch. Once closed, that will the machine will be connected to the bus bar. Now, if we close the synchronizing switch for any other position, there will be a large the power surge, because there is a voltage available between the two termi- incoming two terminals of the incoming machine and the bus bar. Now, another thing that has to be certain is that the sequence is whether the bus bar and the incoming machine has the same sequence. Now, in the previous figure, I have assumed that the sequence is the same, but let us see what happens if the sequence is not same. Now, let us start from this figure, that is A1 is coincident, and CB1 and BC1 as coincident. Then what happens if the sequence is not the same? The sequence this if the sequence is not the same, the if the sequence was same, this then all these voltages are zero, because this figure, when I have drawn, I have considered this is the sequence ABC and this is ABC. Now, actually, what we assume to be B, if it is C, and what we assume to be C, it is B, then basically this is instead of ABC, this is ACB. So this light, what we assume that it is connected between B and C, it is basically connected between C of the bus and C of the machine. So for this superimposed figure, all the lamps will be dark. All these voltages will be zero. Now, if the incoming machine is fast, incoming machine is faster, say incoming machine is rotating in the opposite direction, so it will go ahead in this direction. So see this voltage across the lamp AA1, BC1, CB1, all are increasing at the same rate. So the for this figure, this voltage will be maximum. All the voltage across all the lamps will be maximum. As the phasor rotate, again it will superimposed. So basically what will happen, all the lamps will be dark or bright, it at the same rate. So all the three lamps will flicker. That is also true if the machine is slower. The same thing happens because this voltage across the lamps will start increasing at the same rate. So the lamps will flicker. So if all the three lamps flicker, then we know the sequence is not correct. So we can just interchange one of the terminals to correct the sequence. Now, if sequence is same, then in the particular condition with the uh, lamp across phase A is dark, other two are equally bright, then we connect the synchronizing switch. Now, actually, instead of in this connection, instead of connecting this lamp 2 and lamp 3 between B and C and B, we can also connect across B and C. But but then all the three lamps will be dark at the point of synchronization. But in that case, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular point of at which the switch has to be closed, because this the tungsten lamp, so this will become dark even if the voltage is slightly less than say 15-16 volts. So even that small voltage is available across the switch, that is not indicated by the lamp. So we cannot find the exact point of closing the synchronizing switch. So that's why this one dark two bright lamp method is preferred, because this condition is that this lamp should be dark and this lamp, two lamps, should be equally bright. Now next is that the behavior of the synchronous machine which is isolated, and behavior of the synchronous machine which is connected to the bus bar, what we call infinite bus bars, is quite different. Now why it is quite different? Because when the machine is connected to the bus bar, its terminal voltage and frequency cannot change. Why it cannot change? Because the capacity of the machine is why we call it first of place, why we call it the infinite bus. That is, the concept is that the capacity of the bus bar, or the power flow to the bus bar, is very large compared to the any particular single machine. So as there is number of machines connected to the bus bar, so if we just simply change say the excitation of a particular machine connected to the bus bar, if it was an isolated machine, what will happen? Its terminal voltage will change. But if it is connected to the bus bar, its terminal voltage cannot change, because there are so many machines connected to the bus bar. So, and this machine capacity is very small compared to their system. So by changing the excitation of one machine, we cannot change the bus bar voltage. So the bus bar voltage and frequency remains substantially constant. So the machine, so what we will see, what changes if we now change the machine excitation. Now, before that, let us consider what is the power expression. Now, for cylindrical rotor synchronous machine, say if we neglect the resistance RA, because for the derivation of the equation we normally neglect the resistance because it is small compared to the synchronous reactance XX. So this is your phasor diagram, that this is a terminal voltage, it is supplying a current IA. So VT plus IAXS is your excitation EF. Now from this triangle, from trigonometry we know that BC by sine of angle opposing to this, that is sine of angle BOC, is equal to OC by sine of angle OBC. That is a geometrical relationship. So BC is equal to IAXS. So IAXS, and this angle I have defined as delta, the angle between VT and EF. So sine delta is equal to EF by sine of 90 plus theta. Why it is 90 plus theta? This is the power factor angle theta. This angle is 90. So this is 90 minus theta. So this angle is 90 plus theta. So that gives IAXS sine 90 plus theta is cos theta. So IAXS cos theta is equal to EF sine delta. So IA cos theta is equal to EF sine delta by XS. Now per phase power is VT IA cos theta. So if we replace Ia cos theta by this expression, so we have Ea Vt by xs sine delta. So power of a synchronous machine is given by, this is obviously neglecting the resistance Ra, given by Ea Vt by xs sine delta. So you can see that xs is the parameter of the machine, which is substantially constant. Now Vt is the terminal voltage. So we have specified that if it is connected to the bus bar, so Vt is constant, and EF is the excitation. So unless we change the field current, EF cannot change. So we can presume that the machine with constant excitation connected to the bus bar, this EF Vt by Xs, this quantity is constant. So what happens is when the power delivered by the machine is changes, what will change is this quantity sine delta. So as the machine load on the machine is changes, so the angle between EF and Vt delta will change. So that this equation holds good. So this angle delta is called the power angle. Now if we plot the power versus delta, that is called the power angle characteristic. So obviously this is a sinusoid. If this is the generator, this portion is the motor. So it is a basic sinusoid. Now from here you can see that for from 0 to 90 degree, delta from 0 to 90 degree with delta, power output is increasing, and from the 90 to 180 degree with increasing delta, power output is decreasing. So basically up to this point, delta is equal to 90 degrees, operation is stable, and operation is unstable in this region. Why is that? Say for the machine is operating at a particular point here, say here with some value of delta. Now if the load increases suddenly, then obviously the machine will slightly the main effect will be that machine rotor will slightly lag behind and angle delta will increase. Machine will try to deliver the excess load. Now, if it is operating in this region, as delta increases, power developed will increase. So the machine will supply the excess power. But if it is operating in this region, if there is an increase in load, then delta will increase and the power developed will decrease. So the machine will fall out of synchronism. So this is the steady state stability limit of the cylindrical rotor synchronous generator. That is delta is equal to 90 degree. But at this point, the machine is at the verge of instability, because if it is operating here, slight increase in load will, the machine will fall into this region, in the unstable region. So normally the machine operate in this far below the maximum value of 90 degree, 30 to 40 degree values, that is the maximum value normally it is operating. It will operate here. Now this stability criteria of these synchronous machines will be dealt in details in your power system class. So I am not going, it has got quite elaborate calculation that we are not discussing in this class, that will be dealt with in your power system courses. Now what happens, we define synchronizing power and synchronizing torque. What is synchronizing power? A variation of synchronous power associated with small change of load angle delta or power angle delta is called the synchronizing power. Synchronizing power coefficient is defined as dp d delta. Synchronizing power coefficient is by definition dp d delta. So dp d delta, if we differentiate p with respect to delta, we will get EF Vt by xs cos delta. So if there is a small change in angle delta, say del delta, then synchronizing power will appear. Synchronizing power value is dp d delta, that is rate of change of power with delta into d delta, del delta. So your synchronizing power is EF Vt by Xs cos delta into del delta. And that corresponding torque or the synchronizing torque will be that by omega s. Now, how can we explain the synchronizing power? Now, say the machine originally is operating with this excitation EF with terminal voltage Vt supplying and current say I1. So, current I1. So your equation, this is Vt plus I1 xs is equal to EF. So this angle is the delta. So this is the phasor diagram of the synchronous machine operating. Now due to some disturbance, say it rotor has slightly slowed down and this EF, so it will go the this is this angle has increased delta angle, that is which is the, if the rotor slows down then it will fall back because our field is on the rotor. So now the angle which was so the angle between EF and Vt, which was delta, now become delta plus del delta. Now excitation has not changed, so magnitude of EF is the same. And this equation, that is Vt plus Iaxs is equal to EF, Vt plus Iaxs is equal to EF, that should hold good. So actually the current cannot remain I1, the current will be now something else, Ia2, such that this equation does hold good, that is Vt plus Ia2 j Ia2 xs is equal to EF. Now this angle is very small, and so there is a difference in these two, that is this is this current, this Ia1 and Ia2, this is called the synchronizing current Is. Now this figure, actually this angle is very small, this is EF, this is EF, these two magnitudes are same. So this triangle ABO is equilateral triangle. So if we define this as ES, this voltage appears because there is lack of synchronism. So this is called the synchronizing voltage ES. ES, the magnitude we can get from ES is equal to BA is equal to twice EF sine of del delta by 2. That is, this angle is delta, so this angle is del delta by 2. So this is EF sine of del delta by 2 is this twice of that. So ES is equal to 2EF sine of del delta by 2. Now if ES appears, so it will there will be a component of current corresponding to this voltage. So ES by XS will be this current, synchronizing current IS. So basically this IA1 plus IS will give you IA2, the new current. Now so ES by this will be S, I have just printing mistake. So ES by XS is equal to IS. So this is IS equal to 2EF by XS sine of del delta by 2. Now what is the corresponding power? Power is voltage V, power corresponding to the synchronizing current. So V IS, cos of angle B and IS. Now IS is along this line, so that will be delta plus del delta by 2 angle. So Vt into the current, that is 2 EF by XS sine del delta by 2 into cos of the angle between Vt and Is, that is del plus del delta. Now del delta is very small. So if del delta is very small, sine del delta by 2 is approximately equal to del delta by 2, and cos del plus del delta is approximately cos delta. So this can be written as VTEF by XS del delta into cos delta. So this power associated with synchronizing power is del delta into EF, VTEF by XS cos delta. This VTEF by XS cos delta we has defined as synchronizing power coefficient. So whenever there is a loss of synchronism and then this synchronizing power is appears, and it will synchronize the machine with the bus bar. So a machine which is synchronized with the bus bar has an inherent tendency to remain in synchronism. These obviously, if the disturbance is too large, then the machine will go out of synchronism. But for very small disturbance, this synchronizing power appears and makes the machine synchronized with the bus bar. Now let us see what happens when the machine is synchronized with the bus bar. Now we have assumed certain thing for just explanation. First of all, resistance has been neglected, and also the leakage in this figure. Also, what we have neglected is the leakage reactance. That is only the armature reaction has been considered, because these both Ra and XAL are neglected because they are small compared to this XAR. Now this figure corresponds to no load condition. Under no load condition, there is no armature reaction, so the resultant air gap mmf is equal to the field mmf. So the resultant air gap mmf creates the resultant flux phi r, which induces the emf, air gap emf er, and ef is same for the no load condition. So this is the voltage. Er is equal to Vt is equal to Ef. We are neglected the drop. So Vt is equal to Er, and for no load condition, Er equal to Ef. Now what happens? Say first consider a generator action. Now say if we increase the prime mover input, the prime mover input, that is the prime mover power input, has increased. Now the field is on the rotor, so as the prime mover power input increases, so the field will go ahead. These Vt and phi r, this position will not change. These are the busbar voltage and corresponding busbar corresponding air gap flux. Because neglecting the drops, the air gap flux is given by Vt by root 2 pi f kW n phase. So these two are fixed, but as we have increased the prime mover input, so the field will go ahead. So as the field go ahead, so what happens now? The equation that the resultant mmf is equal to field mmf plus armature reaction mmf, that should hold good. So as now ff is here and fr is here, so this fa appears. So this is the armature reaction fa. So ff plus fa is equal to fr. So this is FA. So this will be FA. So IA current will be in this direction. Current flowing will be in this direction. So as the current is flowing, so it will create this drop, IAXAR drop. So EF will be here. So you can see that this is FF. So FF induces the EMF EF. So EF minus this drop will be the air gap voltage ER. So which is leading phi R by 90 degree. So the machine here, it was just floating on the bus bar. Here if we increase the prime mover input, the machine will now start operating as a synchronous generator supplying this current IA. Now instead of that, say if some instead of in if we put some mechanical load on its shaft, then what will happen? Then the rotor will fall back. We are considering this anti-clockwise direction positive, so the rotor will fall back. So this now rotor position will be here FF. So FF, but again FA appear, FF plus FA is equal to FR, that should hold good. But you can see that FA direction is now in negative direction. So this is FA, and so current will be in this direction. So this VT plus IARA will be your EF. So this EF is again leading FF by 90 degree. So the current here, you can see that current here is negative respect to this. That is basically this is acting as a synchronous motor. So if we put the load on the shaft, the machine will act as a synchronous motor. Now in both the cases, we have to see this what happens if we now change the, instead of now if we consider keep this mechanical load constant, that is the load on the motor, all the prime mover input constant without changing it. If we now change the field excitation, well, let's see what happens. That is, now say first consider the generator. That is, we have a generator which is connected to the bus bar, so voltage frequency is constant, and we have not changed the mechanical input, so the power output cannot change, but we have changed the excitation. So if we change the excitation, that FF, this FF magnitude will change. Now what is the equation? FF sin del RF is equal to FA cos theta. That is, if we look into this triangle, this is FF, this is FA. Now if we, this is a perpendicular, then this is the current direction, this is equal to current direction, and this is the voltage direction. So if we drop a perpendicular, this angle is theta, and this angle we have defined as del RF. So FF sin del RF is this component. This is equal to FA cos theta, cos component of FA. FA cos theta, if consider neglecting the saturation, it is CIA into cos theta. And if we consider this horizontal component, this is FR. FR is equal to FF cos del RF plus FA sin theta. So one equation is that FF sin del RF is equal to CIA cos theta. So from here, if we take IA cos theta will be ff by c sine del rf. So Vt Ia cos theta will be Vt ff by c sine of del rf. And the other equation was that ff cos del rf plus fa sine theta is equal to fr. Now ff cos del rf plus cia sine theta is equal to fr. So again divided by c and multiplying by Vt, we will get Vt ff by c cos del rf is plus Vt Ia sine theta is equal to Vt fr by c. Now what we have assumed, that we have assumed power, we have not changed the mechanical power input or the mechanical the shaft load shaft load. So unless that mechanical power changes, that Ia cos theta, this cannot change. So if this cannot change, this quantity also cannot change. However, in this equation, what we have changed, ff. Say we have increased ff. Okay. If we have increased ff from here, we have increased ff, but this total expression cannot change. Vt is constant, so even if we increase ff sine del rf cannot change. So if we increase ff or if we increase the excitation, then del sine del rf should decrease so that ff sine del rf remains constant. But if del rf decreases, cos del rf will increase. So ff cos del rf will increase. But again, on this side, right hand side is constant. So if this quantity increases, so this should decrease. What is this? Vtia sine theta. This is the reactive power. So for a machine which is connected to the infinite bus, if we change the excitation without any change in the mechanical power input, then what will change is the reactive power flow. So the reactive power flow will change. So the power factor of the machine will change. So the power factor of the synchronous machine depends on its excitation. A machine which is connected to the bus bar, the power factor at which it is operating will depend on its excitation. It does not depend on the power factor of the load connected to it. So basically uh, this is also true from the previous consideration, that for generator, what we have seen, that a lagging power factor current has a demagnetizing effect. So similarly, if we increase it will require higher field current. So if we increase the field current, it will have uh, lagging volt ampere. Whereas when we go for the we will discuss the motor at the end. Now we will go for the motor, we will see that if we increase the excitation, the power factor will be leading. And this particular characteristic of synchronous motor, that is an overexcited synchronous motor operates at leading power factor, was utilized for controlling the line power factor, that is motor synchronous motor without load with a higher excitation was connected. Was there was some design consideration, this is called synchronous condenser, to improve the power factor of the line. However, now we have power factor controller which are power electronic devices. I am but this has a impact on the power factor of the line. So from here, one thing we can get, that is, so alternator connected to the bus bar, its terminal voltage is constant. Now say it is delivering current, I delivering certain power. Now if that power output power is constant, then Vt Ia cos theta is constant. Now what happens if the current it is supplying is at unity power factor? This is Ia2 in this figure. So phasor under this condition will be Vt plus Ia2 excess is equal to Ef2. But if the machine is supplying the power at some lagging power factor, that is Ia2 cos theta, then what is Ef? Ef will be Vt plus Ia1 excess is equal to Ef1. Similarly, if the power current is leading Ia3, then excitation is Ef3. This is for constant power, that is Ia cos theta is constant. Now this excitation for lagging power factor will be maximum, and for unity less than that, and for leading less than unity also. But in all the cases we have seen that the power expression, it is that power is Vt Ef by Xs sine delta. So for constant power output, Ef sine delta also should remain constant. So this is Ef sine delta, this component should remain constant. So from here you can see that if we plot the excitation field current versus the armature current, then in this current is minimum for unity, armature current is minimum for unity power factor and increases on both the side at the power factor changes. That is, if we plot the alternator current versus field current, so at unity this for leading power factor, this is say for unity power factor, alternate our armature current is minimum for unity power factor. As we change the field current on both sides, the armature current value will increase. As we increase the field current, then also armature current increases. If we decrease the field current, also the armature current increases, only for higher value. This is for alternator. Higher value we will have lagging power factor, for lower current we will have leading power factor. Now this curve looks like a V, so this is called V curve. Now the for the synchronous motor, the same phasor diagram is can be applied to synchronous motor only if we replace the current by minus Ia by minus Ia in the synchronous generator equation, we will get the synchronous motor equation. So the phasor is basically, this is terminal voltage is applied. So Ef plus Iaxs will be your terminal voltage Vt for a motor. So here also, if we draw the same figure, that is the motor is delivering some constant power. So if the power is constant, Ia cos theta, this component of Ia along Vt, that should be constant, and Ef sine delta should be constant. So Ef sine delta is this component, this should be constant. So you can see here that here also current is minimum, armature current is minimum for unity power factor. On both sides, it armature current increases, but for motor, for larger value, we will have leading power factor current. That is, the curve looks like the same, armature current versus field current curve, the V curve. Only for higher current, you will have, for motor, it will have leading power factor. For lower current, we will have lagging power factor. So I will stop here today. We will again meet on next Thursday. Okay.